Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper. Today I'm going to be sharing a card with you using the Dainty Delight stamp set, which is one of the new stamp sets with matching dies from the Spring-Summer catalogue. This was my favourite set. As soon as I saw this one, I knew that I had to have it. So I'll just give you a quick look at the bits that come with it before we start making the card. So this is a stamp set. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floral images and then some really nice greetings to go with it. We've got thank you for your kindness, sending love during this season of growth, celebrate you, and the best is yet to come. Because of that mix of greetings, it makes it a really usable stamp set. For those of you that know me well, you know that in order to purchase a stamp set, I have to be able to think of at least 5 different ways of using it. And to be honest, the greetings have almost done it for us. So obviously we've got a thank you card. The best is yet to come could be an engagement card, a wedding card, somebody moving on to a new job, celebrate you for birthdays, obviously. And of course, you can match this with any of our other sentiments from other sets. So the thing I liked about this is that it's a line drawn set. There's a little bit of shading done on the flowers for us, but florals are always popular, and I think because of the different sizes of the images, this gives us lots of different ways we can use this stamp set. I'm just going to show you the dies. So there are dies that cut out each of these bigger 4 images. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's some standalone dies. I like the fact that Stampin' Up always does this, which means that if you really need a card in a hurry and you've got a die cutting machine, you could just use some of the papers, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then cut some elements to pick out from those papers. So we've got this really nice, I mean, that could be an agapanthus head, it could be a hydrangea head, could even be one of those thistly things. This was the one that immediately drew me to this set of dies, because 2 of these will make a lovely oval, and I'm going to show you how to do that in another video. But for today, oh, and obviously there are these extra flowers. This I particularly like. You've got this flower on its own, which is lovely, but then you've got these 2 which are on one die, and these 4, hopefully you can see that, 1, 2, 3, 4 small ones, which would be really ideal for adding to the leafy parts. And then they've also given us 4 centres, but they've given us different 2 of each different size, or shape I should say. So there's 2 circles and 2 sort of bell shapes. So and then there's a half a flower. So we'll talk a bit more about those in another video, where I'm going to be using more of the shape dies rather than the edgelet dies. Okay, so for this one, I've gone ahead and I've mounted up this, oh, nearly forgot, let me just show you. So these papers aren't available to purchase. These are actually a Celebration free item, but they coordinate with the Dainty Delight stamp set. So, and dies obviously. So this is a £45 spend. If you're in America, I think it's $50. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in the UK, it's £45 spend, and you can order this as your free piece. So I'm just going to show you some of the papers. So there's 2 of each. They're 12 by 12s. So that's the front, and that's the back, a sort of watercolour splodge effect. I probably should have gone through and turned these around so you can see front and back easier, but I'll carry on as we are for now. This one is really nice. Stampin' Up have started to do this quite a lot, I've noticed, in our 12 by 12 packs. So if you cut it in half, you've got sections here. Cut the whole thing out, sorry. So the whole page, it's 2 borders. So if you were to cut that in half at 6 inches and then cut these sections, you'll get enough for 3 C6 cards, or possibly even 4 slimline cards. So again, really brilliant for a quick card. If you need a quick card, because the paper does all the talking, then all you'd have to do is stamp a sentiment on that. So that's that one again. I was just going to show you the back of that, which is that really nice green sort of the grasses. And then the other thing they've done in this set, which I think is a really nice idea, is that they've put 2 of the 12 by 12 sheets have got these 6 ovals and 2 long pieces. So out of this one sheet you could make 6 cards with the ovals and then another 2 cards with this section here. So a really, really nice way of using a whole sheet of 6 by 6 and getting some really pretty cards. And that's the back of that one. Let's just put that one back. Get to that one. Oh yeah, that's that again. And then there's this really nice grasses, and that has got some purple and white polka dots on the back. I've got a bit in a bit of a muddle. There's this really nice one. This is the one that we're going to be using in our card in the video, and that's got a really nice sort of blue, almost quilted effect on the back. And that's the same as the one that I showed you at the beginning, but in a smaller size, and that's got this lovely pink and white, hopefully you can see that pink and white back on it. So they're really, really lovely papers, really useful, and as I said, really handy that they've done the ones that you can cut to make cards. Okay, so as I said, we're going to use this big section here. I'm just going to move the stamp set out of the way and I'll show you what I've got. So I've got a C6 card base in Rich Razzleberry. So that is cut at 10.5 by 14.8. No, scored at 14.8, sorry. So half of an A4 sheet. It's been a long day. And then I've gone ahead and I've cut a piece of that paper, which has got the sort of blue quilted on the back. And this is cut at, let me just check my measurements because I don't want to tell you the wrong sizes. This is cut at 14.3 by 7.5. So 7.5 wide, 14.3 long. So if you're careful with your A4 sheets, you can get quite a, A4 sheets, 12 by 12 sheets. You can get quite a few panels of patterned paper out of it. And then I've got a piece of basic white, and this is just 0.5 centimetre smaller all the way around. So this is 13.8 by 7. Okay, and then I've gone ahead and I've cut a circle using the circle framelets, and this is the second largest circle in the set. The circle framelets come with a set of circles and a set of scalloped circles. I'm not sure if they're still available actually, but I have them, so I use them. But you could equally use a circle punch or any other circle that's a similar size. Okay, so I'm going to put most of that to one side. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to say, for the inside of the card, we've got a piece of cardstock, and that is cut at 14.3 by 10, and that's just going to fit on the inside. You always need something to write on dark coloured card. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on the 2 basic white sections, and for this I've got my trusty Stamparatus. If you haven't tried one of these, it really is a godsend. For the kind of technique we're going to do tonight. So the technique we're going to do tonight is called a spotlight technique. So you might have noticed I've got my stamp on a block. That is the way that I mount my stamps to make it easier, and I will show you how to do that at the end of the video, but for now I've already mounted this one. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with our piece of basic white that was cut at 7 by 13.8. Now, you might notice that I've got a corner spacer in my Stamparatus. That isn't available from Stampin' Up, but if anybody wants to know where that comes from, then let me know, and I'll drop me a line, and I'll message you back with where I got that from. I just find that with bigger stamps especially, to get a good image, it's actually easier to have your cardstock not right on the left hand side, because sometimes the hinge can stop it giving you a proper image. You don't need to have the corner mount. I just find it easier to keep my card square. You can see I've got the Stampin' Up grid paper that we sell that is specifically sized to go in the Stamparatus, and it's got your centimetres around the edge. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in there like that. And And I'm just going to get my other magnet out. So the magnets store at the back. These are easily breakable, so mine are wrapped in just some patterned sort of electrical tape, parcel tape, that kind of thing. Okay, now with the Stamparatus, what you need to do is place your image stamp side down onto your piece of paper, get it where you want it, and I want mine slightly near the bottom. You'll see why in a little while. And then bring your plate over and give it a press. Okay. And then it will pick up your stamp for you. And provided you always put your cardstock back in the same place, it will stay where you want it. Now, what I sometimes do with mine is just put a stamp set, a stamp pad. It's slightly out of shot. If I just turn the camera slightly, you can see it's just under the edge of the plate here, just to help keep it level. Okay, hopefully you can see. Now, I'm going to stamp in basic grey. A lot of people like to stamp in black. For some things, I think you absolutely need black. I quite like almost the no line colouring technique, and we are going to be doing a little bit of colouring on here, but you'll see the other reason that I'm using the Stamparatus in a minute. So I'm just going to ink my stamp up. Now, it's always a good idea not to try and get too much ink around the stamp on the plate of the Stamparatus, but because the stamp is raised, because this is a red rubber stamp, the ink isn't going to transfer onto the paper. So I've given it an ink, so what we do is close it down and then just give it a good press. Now, the beauty of this is, if we don't get a decent image, which we have done, I can always re-ink and go over again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of here. Just put that to one side for a minute. And we're going to bring in our circle. Now, what I need to do is get my circle in the right place, that the top of the image is in the centre of the circle. So I'm not letting the plate go down on it, because there might still be some residual ink on there. So I'm just offering it up, if you like. And hopefully you can see that that is more or less where I want it to be. Not so easy to get a magnet on a circle, but we will try. We'll just get the edge in. And then I'm going to ink up just the top half of my stamp again. Yeah, that magnet's going to be in that way, so we'll just move that over slightly. Okay, and then I'm just going to ink the top half, so you can see the ink has gone down lower onto the grid paper, and I've got my section that I wanted inked. I'll just move the Stamparatus out of the way just for a little while. Now what we're going to do, the reason this is called a spotlight technique is because we are going to colour this section on the circle, but none of this. And then what we will do, we will line it up, so you can see where it will line up. So that's that flower, and that's that flower, and this is the top of these flowers. So you can see I can line it up to go over the top. Now, I've committed a little bit of a mistake here, because I wanted this to be in the centre here. But by turning it slightly, I think we might be able to line it up. Anyway, so we'll work that out. I mean, a handmade card is not meant to be perfect in any case, is it? So what we're going to do, we're going to use... I've got my rich raspberry blends and my old olive blends. There is a light and dark for each colour. So I'm just going to put my glasses on so I can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to use both colours, and I'll just give you a little scribble. So that's the dark rich raspberry. That's the lighter rich raspberry. And then we've got the darker old olive. No, the lighter old olive. And this is the darker. Now, these pens get used in my classes, and you can see what's happened to this nib here. It's got completely scribbled out. So I'm not actually going to be able to use that end, but that's fine, because on the other end we have a fine nib, and that's the one that we're going to need. Sorry, my glasses have just steamed up. That's the one that we're going to need to colour in. So this is, as I said, the dark, and this is the light. So I'm just going to do some of the leaves with the darker, and the beauty with the blends is that they sort of travel. So you don't need to apply much colour, and it sort of spreads on the cardstock. I knew this was going to happen today. My glasses are determined to steam up. And I'm just doing really basic colouring. I'm not worrying too much about blending or anything like that. Oh my goodness me, I'm going to have to keep taking them off and cleaning them. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with the lighter one. And again, I'm using the fine tipped end because this is quite small. And you can literally just touch the pen on. To get those leaves. Okay, I'm going to do these little ones up here, I think, in the green. Right, okay. And then I'm going to bring my rich raspberry in. And I think what we'll do, we'll use the darker one for the bigger flowers. Now we do also sell a colour lifter, so if you're not happy with the colour, we can go back over and move some of the ink away with the colour lifter. But because we're using a rich raspberry base card, I want the colour to be quite deep. And then we'll do this one here. You can see, you just sort of stroke the colour on and it will sort of almost do the work for you, really. And then just for these little ones down the bottom, I'm just going to come in with the lighter rich raspberry just to give us a different tone. And on these as well. So I'm not spending ages on the colouring. It's, I just realised we missed a leaf there. Oh, now that's not supposed to happen. Every now and again this happens, and the I think, I'm not sure if it's to do with my hands. Oh, I'll have to use the other end and just be careful. Every now and again it pulls apart, and you can put it back together, but and sometimes a little bit tricky to get the lid back off. But I've got arthritis in my hands, which doesn't make it very easy to pull the lids off. Look, I'm noticing lots of little ones that I've missed now. Right, so that's our blends out of the way. So you can see that I've just added a little bit of colour, and I think I might just pull out a yellow in a minute and add a little bit of colour to the middles of those. But I can do that after we've mounted the card. So I'm just going to take my glasses off to stop them steaming up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our card base and our uncoloured section and start putting this together. But before I do that, we're just going to do a little bit of stamping on the inside of the card. And I think we'll use a smaller image for that. So I'm just going to take this one off. And I think we might go for this small one here. So all the stamps come with a paper backing on them. So when you just need to pull them out. This is how they come on a sheet. And they're already perforated. So you just need to pull them out and take off this paper backing. Now I'm going to use this without the paper backing on, and then I'll show you, without the label on I should say, and then I'll show you how I put the label on. So we'll just put the, there are lots of different ways of mounting your stamps, and if you found one that works for you, then stick to it. But you don't have to have the label on, and a lot of people don't like to use the labels, but I find it easier for positioning. So I think what it is our old cling mount stamp sets. The labels weren't very sticky. These really are. In fact, to the extent that if you aren't careful about removing them from your blocks fairly quickly after you've used them, I've made the mistake of leaving them on a block for a few days before, and they're not easy to get off once they're stuck on there. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my chamois, which needs wetting, just to clean that off so I can show you how I mount the stamps. Okay, so I'm going to pull that off the Stamparatus now, move that out of the way. With the stamp sets, you get a sheet of stickers. One side they'll be divided so that you can pull off the backings. And I'm just going to pull a block in so you can see. So what I do, I take my clear block, find the sticker that I want, so it's this one, and then what I do is pull the whole thing off the sheet. These are very sticky, so then I stick that to the block, and then with my fingernail I pull the backing off. You can use tweezers. So the backing is always in 2 halves, even on the really tiny stamps. As I said, there are various methods of getting the backings off. I just find this easier, or getting the stickers on. And then what I do is you can see that's the same shape. But what I do is I turn my stamp over, and then that enables me to line up the sticker on the back. I don't know if you'll be able to see through here where the edges are. I don't think the camera will pick it up, but I can see, and that enables me to line that up with the stamp, press it down, and there we are, stickers on there. Okay, so that's just a quick 101 with how to put a sticker on. Okay, let's get rid of that block and start putting this card together. So we've got our inside, we've got our coloured circle, and we've got our DSP. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to mount up the DSP. I'm going to bring in my trusty Tombow. Tombow is great because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. I store mine upside down so that the glue is always at the end that I want it at. Now, ordinarily, because I'm left-handed, I would automatically stick that DSP to that side and put that panel over it. But we've got that whole beautiful panel of paper that we're only going to see a fraction, literally less than half of half a centimetre around the edge of our panel. So what I've decided to do is stick it to this side. I'm just lining it up so we've got the edge of the cardstock showing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this one over the top. Now this one's slightly smaller, so just have to be careful about where we're lining it up. So I'm just going to, now I was going to raise this up, but I'm not going to because I'm going to raise the circle up, and otherwise that'll be quite a lot of height on the card. So I'm going to bring this one in, and I'm going to make sure that I get it the right sort of distance to the edge of the card that we've got over the other side. And then obviously it's a little bit smaller so you can just see the patterned paper around there. And that way we get a nice bulk of our piece of paper rather than just having a tiny little edge around there. And then what I need to do is bring this in and line that up. So I'm just going to grab some dimensionals. Oh, they're mini ones. It doesn't seem to matter if I put my dimensionals always back in the same place on my desk, when I go to grab them the next time, there aren't any. Right, that's an empty packet, so we don't need that one. I'm sure they get up in the night and walk. Right, there we go, there's some large ones. So I'm just going to pop a couple of dimensionals onto the back of this part. This will also help us disguise any slight bits that aren't exactly lined up. So top tip for dimensionals, if you struggle to get the edges off, stick your thumbnail into the middles and that will lift the edges for you. I don't know if you can see that, and then you can just flick them off, which makes them a heck of a lot easier to get off if you haven't got any nails. Okay, right, now what we need to do is we need to line this circle up that we've coloured in with this section of the card. Now I know that those flowers are here and that one is there, and then we've got the edge of that leaf there. Okay, and remember we want to try and get it as much as possible in the middle of our card. It's not bad, but I think we can go over a little bit further by coming down. So because we've got the top half of the image, we just gives us a little bit of wiggle room to try and get it where we want it. I'm going on these stems here and trying to make sure that they're lined up as much as possible. So I reckon that's probably going to be about it. There we go. So if I hold that up, hopefully you can see that the stems here and the top of that leaf are lined up. So that's the front of our card, and then this is the inside that we stamped with the other floral image. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on that, and try to remember not to go right to the edges on your card when you're gluing, because the glue will squidge a little bit when you stick it in. And I'm just going to open my card up and add that. And again, the Tombow gives us a little bit of wiggle room. I'm going to add that inside. Now, I haven't put a greeting on this because I'm not entirely sure who I'm going to send it to. A lot of my cards that I make, I don't put a greeting on until I need to send it. But there are, as I said, some lovely greetings in that set. So there's my completed card. I hope you like it. And I'll be back soon with another video for you. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping. Bye for now.